Quick video to show you some durability tests on this gold leafing that I've been trying out. This is Mona Lisa brand gold leaf. I bought a kit that comes with the different chemicals you use to glue it and seal it, and some gold leaf. I also bought a separate package of variegated gold leaf, and you can see on this the color variety. I mixed and matched the two golds on here the same way I did it on my sword. On the top here, I've given it 3 coats of the sealer that comes with the kit. Don't find it to be the most durable. Seems a little bit, I don't know, softer, I guess, than some lacquers I've used. On this side here, I've put on 3 coats of a Minwax polyacrylic, and on this side here, I've left it unfinished. Other thing I want to be able to show you, see if I can get it in the camera here. On this side, you can almost make out the milling marks that are on there. These sort of semicircles that ring 2 different directions up and down that. Well, that detail is picked up right inside this gold leaf. It's so thin and so fine that any slight feature on the object that you're gilding will come through. All that detail will always show up. This is just an old 123 block that I had laying around. Don't use anymore. So what I'm going to use to test it out, got a regular pocket knife, some 150 grit sandpaper, toothpick, a small screwdriver, a fine file, and another screwdriver that was just laying on the table. Thought this would be a good idea. First of all, just rubbing. Straight up, just rubbing it to see regular handling. How is that going to do? I'm putting more pressure than I would put on something. Nothing's coming off on the finger. It's going to take more, definitely on the part that's sealed, to have an effect. On the part that I did the polyacrylic on, it's even more so. I can give it even more force. Well, I guess equal. But, nothing's going to happen to just regular handling of this stuff once it's sealed. On the untreated side, I've noticed that it will come off a little bit because it is untreated. It's just open. You in direct contact with the leafing. I don't know if you can make it out in the camera. I'll try to catch it in the light. There's a little bit of, you can see the shimmer from the flecks of gold leaf that's come off. Not a lot, but I mean from where it's going to happen. So heavy pressure on the untreated stuff will flake off little by little. Part of that's happening because there are, again, little ridge marks you can make out across this. So, my finger pressure is able to catch those ridges and scrape off little bits of the gold leaf. Let's try something a little more tough. A little toothpick. On one side of this, I'll take the edge off one side of it. And again, starting with the sealer that it uses, scratching it. Yeah, you can see. A scratch like that is going to scrape it off. That scratch is the same, that would have scraped off paint on something. Lighter scratch. This is just basically using no extra pressure, just going against it. Well, you can see it's left a little bit of a mark on it. I don't know if I can catch that in the light. A little bit left on there, and heavy pressure will definitely scratch it. But that was a good amount of pressure. Now let's see how it does on the Minwax treated side. I'll start with a light pressure this time, just rushing it across. I'm not seeing any change. I'm also not getting the marks that I could see made it coming here into the finish. I'm not seeing those here. I can also feel that this is a smoother pass. This was almost sticking, and that's what I meant by that softer feel. It doesn't quite seem to harden the same way. Here, definitely stiffer. If I didn't say it already, there's 3 coats on these of each finish with proper drying time in between, following the instructions. Now let's try a harder scratch with the rougher edge. Harder scratch. Oh, gone right away. It's gone. But that was a good size scratch. I don't expect you to do that with normal handling again. But you know, could even try a fingernail scratch. I just cut my nails. So let's see. Fingernail scratch. Yeah, it's going to come off with a heavy fingernail scratch. And on this side, yep, it will come off. And so naturally on the untreated side, well, you can see right away, even the light scratching, it's going to have an effect. Right, so something with a bit of a semi-sharpened edge, this small flathead screwdriver, right away. Even on the flat of it, corner of it, it's going to scratch it. On the second side, it wants to skate a little more. Doesn't want to catch the same way. So the Minwax is doing a better job, but apply some pressure. Not even as much as I was giving the toothpick, and it's going to scratch off. And over here, well, naturally this is the softest of the three sides. What about filing it? Almost immediately the file is going to catch and tear it. On this side, again, you can see that it wants to skate because it's a better finish, but it is starting to have some effect. Scratch it. And on this side, well, by now we can tell what we're getting into. Rubbing off right onto the file. Can the camera catch that? What else? It's all going to have the same effect, you can tell. This is more rounded than the small screwdriver, and it wants to slide, and it takes a good amount of pushing to get it off, but it's going to come off if you put heavy pressure against it. Again, here, it takes a little more pressure for it to have an effect, and there, forget about it. Gone. Underneath there, that red you're seeing shining through is a base coat that comes with the kit. Helps adhere the leaf. Well, I don't know if it helps adhere the leaf because there's a glue that comes on after. What it does is it gives a red tone underneath any cracks that appear in the leaf, which is supposed to help it look more authentic, more antiqued. Anyway, sandpaper, what's that going to do? You can see a little bit in there, and you can see lots of scratch marks along that. On this side, what's the sandpaper going to do? Well, that's what you'd expect. It's first sanding off the clear finish, and it gives it this opaque coloring starts on it, this whitening of the clear finish, because it's starting to bead that up on itself. And you're going to get to the gold. But you got to understand, the kind of force I'm putting on this is heavy pressure. This is just no weight. I don't know, this is as much weight as I'd put. I don't have any preference for it, but this is putting more pressure than you would normally put on something from just holding it, but it's having a serious effect on it. And on this side, well, it's not going to take anything really at all. Even light pressure starts to peel it right off. And what about a knife scrape? What's the point? I guess now I'm just doing it because it's here anyway. Scratch it with a knife, and you will get lines. Scrape it, and off it comes. On this side, you get lines. See the scraping, off it comes, but I did notice that the first couple scratches were just the finish, not the actual leaf. Here. So is it durable? I would give it a less than perfect grade. This stuff is definitely delicate. You can handle it fine. You can dry handle it. You can put your fingers on it. You can run your nail across it without worry. But if you put pressure onto it, medium pressure onto it, it's going to scratch off. Remember, this stuff is primarily used for its looks, not its durability. It's going to go on an art piece or something that is basically just for show, right? It's not going to go on the handle of your sword. That's going to be constantly in contact. Although theoretically, if it's just being handled, not scratched, it should be fine. Definitely not going to go on the blade. You're going to see it come off as soon as you start using it, cutting. For my purposes, I've left it on things like the pommel on my Geon. And again, if you've been reading the other posts that I've been putting up, this sword is going to be used for display, even though it is, I'd say 80% functional. If you've seen the Tang, you know what I'm talking about. But as it's for display, I think it's sufficient because it is just going to be lightly handled and shown off. It looks fantastic. Regardless of what you think of the finish, it looks outstanding. This is, again, both kinds of plain and variegated gold put on this. I actually have 5 coats, if I'm not mistaken, of lacquer on this. 2 of the one that came with the kit, and another 3 of the polyacrylic of my own overlapping it. So perhaps that will give it a little added durability. But it's not something that is meant to be messed around with, scratched up, banged into. Something that's meant for looking at. And as you can tell, if you do start to scratch it and wear into it, it is going to show quite quickly. So there you go. That's more or less what I got to say about that. Any specific questions? I don't know. Let me know.